Okay, I may or may not put the new intro clip at the beginning of this video, so if I didn't, what's new, crew? I'm Kairu82, and this is a new thing I'm going to try. I'm just going to chat a little bit with you about Pokemon Sword and Shield specifically, and I suppose to an even finer point, the lack of Pokemon in Pokemon Sword and Shield, and the fact that the national Dex isn't really going to be a thing in that game. One of the biggest problems with this whole scenario is the fact that Nintendo doesn't come out with the whole truth. The reason they give us for not being able to have all the Pokemon in this game is a time constraint. And they act like somebody else is putting the screws to them, saying, you need to get this game out here right now. Which, if they're talking about their investors, fine. But when it comes down to it, they are still their own boss. And they could tell the investors, hey, this isn't what we want for our brand. If you want our brand to be profitable, we have to continue to give the quality that we have been giving from the beginning. But it's still not really feasible, and I understand where Nintendo's coming from in that it's not feasible to continue to produce Pokemon games every year. And every third or fourth year, give a new generation with new Pokemon and balance those Pokemon with the older ones. It's not feasible to continue that without either taking more time, at the very least, or it costing more money. I mean, really, it's going to cost more money anyway. So it's going to cost exponentially more money going forward the more they have to add to the game. Yes, they can save some time and money with reusing the sprites and such. But anytime you add something like new Pokemon to the mix, you have to balance all of them for those new Pokemon. You can't just be like, oh, these new Pokemon need to fit into this world and be balanced with all these. You're going from with one Pokemon at a time and saying, okay, make sure that he's balanced with this one and that one, and you'd have to do it like 600 times, and eventually thousands of times. Once we hit thousands of Pokemon. Are we that far yet? I don't even know anymore. But the point is, I understand where Nintendo's coming from there. The problem lies in the way Nintendo is portraying their angle, their side of this. As opposed to the time constraint that Nintendo is portraying here, this limitation that they say they have, they could just come out and say, hey, it's going to cost us more money, it's going to take more time to get a quality product out to you. If you want the same level of quality that you've seen from us in the past, you're going to have to wait longer. If they don't want to do that, they will have to pour more money into it to get the same amount of quality and stick to that same schedule. That's just how it is. You can't do more work in the same amount of time. It just isn't possible. Not without costing more money, more man hours, which cost more money. So if Nintendo could just tell us, be honest about it, and not make it sound like somebody else is holding the screws to them, then this would all be easier to swallow. To make matters worse for Nintendo, here a few days ago they released, somebody released a picture of all the Pokemon. It's a leak showing the Pokemon that will be included, and more importantly, the ones that will be excluded. And there are so many excluded. When you look at specifically the first generation, there's only 154 or so that are going to be included. It's about a third of the 151. So that's all we get of the first generation, and the rest of the generations aren't looking much better. It's I'm going to try to remember to make a link in the description so you can see the picture of the chart. And it is a leak, so it might not be true, but from the general reaction online, people very much believe it. And I tend to believe it myself. It's at this point, the way the publicity has gone for this game, it didn't surprise anybody. It's a lot worse than people expected, but it wasn't like a shock. Like, this is the kind of thing that we've come to expect for Nintendo's announcements surrounding Sword and Shield. And it was a leak. It wasn't an official announcement. We'll see if they add more or whatever. Which brings me into the next part of what I want to talk about. From the beginning, Pokemon's catchphrase has been, gotta catch 'em all. Well, we can't catch 'em all if they're not all included, and going forward, it's very clear that they're not going to all be included. Barring some kind of marketing, this being some kind of marketing stunt where they, somewhere along the line, pull like a Smash Ultimate kind of situation where they're like, oh, look at that. This new game has all of the Pokemon in it. Isn't that neat? Don't you want to buy this game because it's got all the Pokemon that you couldn't have at some point or another? Like, unless that's their angle, which I really doubt, but, it's a possibility, we're not going to see all the Pokemon in one game. My suggestion to them, I guess, would be to turn Pokemon into a game as a service. I think Pokemon is the perfect example of a game that needs to be a game as a service. If they just started with like a base region, such as Kanto, and just added on new regions and new Pokemon, much like they would DLC in like an MMO or something, be like, this is the new region. You get, like, in Final Fantasy XIV, for example, you get access to a new area, new part of the story. You get new weapons, new stuff to harvest. They could do a lot of the same stuff with Pokemon, and that way everybody could keep all the Pokemon throughout the game, and they just keep adding regions instead of making new variations on the same concept. They just add to the game. It may not be a perfect fix, but I think Pokemon, if there is any game that is made to be, that is destined to be a game as a service, it is Pokemon. Of course, they could abuse this and do it wrong and sell Pokemon individually or regions like maybe special areas individually or whatever. That would be the wrong approach, but they could potentially just do it the right way, release an entire region with all the Pokemon that live there included, and charge a flat rate just to access the region and those Pokemon, just as an update to the game. They could even charge as much as they are currently for new games for the new regions. And people are going to bitch about that, but that's just how it is. People are going to bitch about the pricing on something, and most of the time they're right to bitch because we don't get the value that we used to out of paying money for games. A lot of it is being kept from us in order to sell it to us later on top of the base game price. But even if they charged $40 or $50 for the new region and all of the Pokemon involved, that would be a great value, especially when compared to the fact that they might have, if that weren't the case, they'd have to go buy a whole new game that would cost $40 to $60 to access that stuff anyway. I think that's where I want to leave this today. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the situation. Are you going to get Sword and Shield? Does the leak of the roster change your mind either way? What do you think about the game being a game as a service? Do you think Pokemon is perfect for that? Do you think it's got some problems? Let me know what the flaws are with that plan in the down below. Let me know what you think about the whole gotta catch 'em all thing not being a thing anymore. Just let's have a conversation in the comment section below. And thanks again. Thanks for the first time. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna stop talking now. Thank you. Okay, bye.